Let's talk about existing home sales expectations that come out on Thursday. Let's talk about the M2 money supply crashing first time since the Great Depression. Talk about Larry Summers being confused, shelter inflation, and yes, I will catch you up on what my shopping in Vegas. But of course, folks, it is Sunday, June 18th, and let's start off by saying Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there who are hopefully enjoying a day of rest and making some memories, taking some pictures with their kids. And of course, as I always do, let's shout out all the single moms who are out there really serving double duty. Again, it's hard out there. It's tough. So again, it is Father's Day. Make sure you take some pictures, some memories. It's one thing I will regret not doing enough of. When Teresa was younger, was taking lots and lots of pictures. So happy Father's Day. Have a great day. We are going to go out to a Brazilian steakhouse tonight to celebrate. So I am going to have a light lunch and a massive dinner. So let's get into it. First, let's talk with PIMCO. We are now seeing the pain of commercial real estate. PIMCO has recently written down their office portfolio. Hey, Nathan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very nice super chat. Happy Father's Day to you as well. So it's going to be a good day. So let's go back to PIMCO. They have just taken a massive write down on their office portfolio. They wrote it down 30%. Some of us hear that 30% and they go, oh my God, the world is crashing. The banks are going to fail, yada, yada, yada. The housing bears, the doomers, the crash bros, they will be saying uneducated things like that. So this is what I did for you. If you want, you can take a pen and paper out. We can write these down together because I'm going to walk you through why a 30% write down is okay for the banks, but not for someone else. So here we go, folks. Let's assume that PIMCO bought an office building or a collection of office buildings for $1 billion. Yes, folks, $1 billion. What this means is they very likely got debt, right? The debt on that $1 million purchase is probably $650 to $700 million. So for this simple example, we are going to assume it's $700 million. So again, as the $1 billion purchase closes, there is debt of $700 billion. What else? Well, of course, there is $300 million in equity, right? That's the difference. That's the difference this time. Between commercial collapse and residential collapse. Residential collapse, people had no equity, so the banks took all the losses. In this example, PIMCO wrote down their portfolio from the value from $1 billion to $700 million. So what happens? When that debt comes to refinance, now we have a problem. So what PIMCO would do if they were the debt holder on that, they would go back to the operator, right, the GP, and say, hey, we would love to redo your loan. Unfortunately, you must be at 70% LTV. So what that means is, again, we're going to assume mortgage pay down and all of that's not there to keep this story simple. We are going to refi the loan not at $700 billion, but we are now going to do it at 70% of $700 million or $490 million. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Operator, would you cut us a check for $210 million, folks? This is the dreaded cash-in refi. Now, keep in mind, in an environment like we're in today, while they may have done a 70% loan in the past, they would never do a 70% loan today. It would be 60 or 65. But hopefully the story makes sense. Equity is going to get wiped out. Office, retail, multifamily, we're going to see equity wiped out. I do not think banks will take massive hits unless you, of course, own a portfolio of office buildings in San Francisco. In that case, good luck. You're done. Bad, 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 bad. You actually may want to extend and pretend. So again, the reason I bring this up is really twofold. There's a lot of fear out there about commercial real estate tanking banks. And yes, again, if you are a bank in San Francisco with San Francisco office, I don't know what to tell you. But generally speaking, if you're a diversified lender and you're in multiple different types of commercial, even if there is value loss, as in PIMCO down 30%, your debt is still rather secure. Of course, you will take a haircut on a fire sale or something of that nature. But the first person to feel pain is equity. And this is something I've been warning about for well over a year, because again, once the dominoes start falling, it's easy to see them coming. And of course, you are starting to see some doomers talk about it now. But of course, it is too late to do anything. They should have been warning you a year ago, and they were not. So let's get into existing home sales. This is a very important number as a real estate channel. This is something I look at. This is something I try to look at and make my own wild guess. Looks like the expectations for existing home sales that comes out on Thursday is 424,000. Last month, just so you remember, the actual number was 428. Everything that I have seen from my experts on the channel, right, the millionaires that come back, and if you haven't gone to my website, onerentalatatime.com, please do so today, just to meet the millionaires. It's one of the reasons I spent all that money, is I wanted to celebrate the millionaire contributors. So if you can, go check it, read their bios. I think it's a nice thing to do to know more about them. But at the end of the day, what I really thinking about is we're going to beat expectations. Expectations, again, were 424, 4.24. I'm going to go 4.33. So not only beat expectations, but above last month. So again, folks, if you want to play along, and of course, if you guess the number on the number, I will mail you a Nailed It t-shirt. That is something I like to do. So again, I'm going to go with 4.33. Also on Thursday, we're going to get a cut of the initial jobless claims. This is an important number. We are 2 weeks deep into noticeably higher claims, right? Both the last 2 weeks were 262,000. That is about a $25,000 to $28,000 jump, people jump from the previous run rate. We are heading up, right? Does that trend hold at 260-ish, or do we jump to 275, 281? This is where I think it's going, and ultimately over 300,000. So very, very interesting. Have you heard about the M2 money supply? Again, something I'm seeing the doomers talk a lot about is the M2 money supply is down 5%. Of course, it is down 5%, and you can accurately say the last time that happened was the Great Depression. Folks, that sounds scary. And doomers want to scare you. Hopefully you know this by now. What the doomers aren't telling you is, unfortunately or fortunately, the M2 money supply jumped, roughly speaking, 20% during this last 2 years. So for the M2 money supply to come back to trend, right? Because you can actually trend the money supply. So right now there's a money supply. Then there's the last 2 years, it jumps. It's coming back to trend. Do you know how far it has to fall to get to trend? Just to trend. And trend is up. Roughly speaking, it has to fall 14 or 15% more. We injected so much money into our system that falling 5% doesn't get us back to trend. This environment we've been in for the last 2 years has distorted so many things, and the response was unhealthy. So it would not shock me that the M2 money supply continues to fall and not be a problem. But again, this is something we're doing. We're trying to drain liquidity from the system. So not to be expected, not to be fearful. You can watch it. I will agree with you. We need to watch the M2 money supply because that is one sign of liquidity. But again, we are far away from trends. So watch that. Larry Summers. Larry Summers is somebody I've started to follow recently. He's made some frankly, very good calls about the Fed. So I've respected Larry Summers. He's made some wonderful decisions. I do think an article I read, I think it was on Bloomberg, about him being, quote unquote, confused and disturbed is creative license from the writer, I would think. I don't think Larry Summers is confused or distorted, but that is certainly what the writers wanted on the headline. Why? So you'll click on it, just like I did. Here's the deal, right? Larry Summers basically said, I don't know why you pause and you talk about 2 more rate hikes this year. Okay, I get it, right? You're going to pause, but also tell you more pain's coming. I think Larry knows this, at least deep in his soul. Maybe he doesn't want to say it on TV because then he doesn't get invited back. I believe Larry Summers believes what I believe. This was a hawkish pause and really not a skip. It's just a stop, but they can't say it. The Fed wants to get the market to think more rates are coming, so they have to do less. It's kind of a catch-22. So again, I don't think Larry is confused. I think he knows exactly what the Fed is doing. But talking about that doesn't get you on TV. So Larry Summers says he's confused and distorted. Just so something I'm starting to check that again you can check as well. Trueflation.com. It's an updated model on what is actually happening today, not this lagging one that we have reported by the government. Has inflation at 2.49 actual consumer inflation. So much closer to the 2% target. Let's talk about shelter inflation. This is something we've been talking about for 6 or 9 months. It's mathematically a foregone conclusion that it will roll over in Q3. Q3 is only a few short days away. Now we have a chief economist, Mark Zandi. Yes, folks, Mark Zandi is caught up with where you and I are and says it is essentially a guaranteed reversal in shelter costs. He is as convinced as he can be that shelter costs will roll over in the second half. So shocking, guys. It's like, I don't know why these economists don't look out into the future more. Because again, as we've talked about the shelter inflation 6 months ago, it was going to roll over in the second half. It was a mathematical certainty. And now we have folks like Mark Zandi saying, oh, guess what, guys? Shelter inflation is going to come down soon. No kidding, Mark. Where were you 6 months ago? But I digress. So let's catch you up on what's going on in Vegas. I don't know if you know this, but again, Olivia and I have been shopping in Vegas. We've been using the wonderful agent, Brian Lebo. We have gone out, 5 or 6 times with Brian, 2 or 3 times by ourselves. We've been essentially looking every day. Wow, 2.5 weeks probably. And this is what I have found. Again, Vegas real estate inventory is not great. It's low. Everything below 500 grand is either total junk or flies off the shelf. We happen to be fortunate. We are shopping at about $1 million to $1 million, let's say 4 is where we're kind of play. And it's very interesting. First off, new home construction. They're building new homes all over the place. I do find it odd that in Vegas, there's often the price for the build, and then there's a lot premium. And then, of course, there's 15 to 20% on top of that. So we've gone to a couple of builders. One builder had a price at 800. We kind of did a soft spec, and we got to 1.3, right? The lot plus what we wanted. Went to another one on a half acre, was like 1.1, and then when we got done, it was like 1.6. I was like, gosh, what is going on here? So we did do some new home shopping. Not sure that's going to be an option for us, but we have been looking. And one thing I will say, again, shout out Brian, something he and I have talked about for a year now is from $1 million to 1.5, right? 2x the median. We're starting to see some sellers get motivated. We've actually talked to probably a dozen agents, and well over half of them have said, hey, just so you know, my sellers are flexible. It's like, really? Okay, great. So you're telling me to write an offer below asking. Got it. Check. Thanks. So again, this is very different, right? A couple of things we looked at below $1 million, they fly off the shelf. So don't know if that's everybody's experience in Vegas. I don't pretend it is, but it is certainly my experience in Vegas so far. So a couple of other things to talk about. Let's talk about rental units coming. It looks like RealPage is estimating that over the next 12 to 24 months, there will be another 500,000 rental units coming. Folks, you should know by now that the rental units that are coming are going to be Class A, right? They're going to be the highest amenity stuff. Very interesting. Redfin is highlighting that the rental wages, where does that come from? Rates, the rental rates, down 0.6%. The average or median, it's the median rent is now $19.95 across the country. So lots of stuff going on. And of course, the last thing, we'll go back to Mark Zandi. Shelter inflation last reported was 8%. Why is that important? Because shelter makes up the largest component of headline and core. Why is core so sticky at 5.2? Shelter, shelter, shelter. If we had a flat shelter reading, the core CPI would be in the 2s. So again, folks, it is important for shelter to do its thing. It will start rolling over in July, August, and September. And then we will see where we're at the end of the year. I expect inflation to be headline to be in the 3s and probably core to join it as well. So that's a lot of stuff going on today. I hope you're having an amazing day. Don't forget it's Father's Day. Shout out to all the fathers. Again, take some pictures. That's one thing I wish I had more of. It's Father's Day, so you can make your kids hug you and take pictures with you. So do that today. Make the memories. And yeah, just have an amazing day. All right. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful day. Like, subscribe, comment, become part of One Rental at a Time. We are on the cusp of 47,000. I think we need another 110 subs. If you want to help us get to 47,000 on an ultimate journey to 50,000, please subscribe, like, ask your friends to join. Let's have some fun. Later.